So welcome to today's Leadership in Action Lunch and Learn webinar. This is the conclusion to our awareness webinar series, and today we will be discussing emotional intelligence. I would like to welcome our collegiate and alumni members, and I'd also like to welcome alumni and volunteers from Hobie, our philanthropic partner. We appreciate all of you attending this webinar. If you have any questions during this webinar, you can ask them in the Zoom chat box on your screen. You'll be also asked to answer some questions throughout the webinar, so use the chat box to do so. There will also be some poll questions during the webinar, so during that time, you can pick one of the answers by clicking on your screen. I would now like to introduce our panelist today, Josh Marder, who is a Phi Sigma Pi Alpha Rho chapter alumnus. Josh graduated from Virginia Tech in 1997 with degrees in marketing and psychology. As a member of the Gamma class of the Alpha Rho chapter, in its second year, they learned a lot by visiting the Tau chapter as they built Alpha Rho into a strong chapter over the years. He served as AP chapter president, initiation advisor, alumni chair, and was a member of AP's alumni advisory board and as a term previously. He was also a member of the Appalachian Region alumni chapter when it existed. Josh has served on our National Council as President, National Secretary, and VP of Finance, and is now serving on the Foundation Board. He is proud of the million things that the fraternity and its members do, but has a particular strong passion for our philanthropic work with young students, currently with Hobie and TFA before that. He graduated with an MBA from Duke University in 2001 and have worked in digital and brand marketing since then, having led and grown some awesome and classic U.S. brands with Ragu, Hunt's, Country Crock, Sunny Delight, Bertolli, and Nature Made Vitamins among them. He is currently the Senior Vice President of Marketing for Western Dental and Bridget, a dental firm with 250 offices across the Southwest. He has an amazing 13-year-old daughter, Madeline, who says she wants to found a PSP chapter someday and at her possible dream school, NYU. So I want to thank you for being here today, Josh. And before I turn it over to Josh, I just want to, for those of you who are just joining us, again, who's here? If you can type your name and your chapter in the chat box, or if you're a Hobie alum or volunteer, please let us know that. Or if you are also a Hobie alum and volunteer and part of PSP, let us know that as well. Have some more shout outs. Danielle's here, Tiana, Delaney, Nicole, Ryan. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. We have a great group of attendees. Alyssa, Skylar, welcome. Thank you, everybody. So, okay, at this time, I am going to turn it over to Josh. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks very much. This is really fun and exciting for me to do. And I was just as you were saying it at the end. So Maddie, my daughter, over the summer, I wanted to go to convention, and kind of last minute, I said to her, like, hey, let's go to Arizona. We'll go and you'll see, Phi Sigma Pi and these things that I've been a part of for, most of my life, most of my adult life, and see why this means so much to me. And she's like, I don't want to go. I want to stay home. I want to do whatever else. And she went and was kind of nervous, right? So she's a middle school student there with everyone, but came to a couple parts of it and came to the banquet and saw kind of Phi Sigma Pi brothers in action and left there so excited. She wants to found a chapter. She wants to join Phi Sigma Pi when she goes to college. She wants to go to convention in Orlando next year, everything. So it was pretty funny, pretty cool to see, how inspiring and exciting we are to people, even the first minute they see us. Can everyone hear me okay? Can someone just chat, say, yes, you can hear me? Cool, awesome, thank you very much, cool. Okay, so emotional intelligence. What is emotional intelligence? I'm gonna start with like a quick little story. Emotional intelligence touches on a number of things, but as I was preparing this and reading through, I have a psychology degree. I have a marketing degree and a psychology degree from Virginia Tech, from undergrad. And we learned through some pieces of emotional intelligence, but I wanted to make sure I got the terminology right this morning. But as I was going through the notes for it and preparing, it was so clear to me how relevant and close it is to other things that we're seeing that are popular and present today. So one of them is mindfulness, this concept of being in the moment and knowing where you are, knowing where other people are, meditation, and if you haven't tried meditation or been interested in it, it's definitely worthwhile. I didn't think I would be, but it's a space that's helpful and a practice that has some great value to a lot of people, and other things about self-improvement and being along your personal path are all related to emotional intelligence. So the little story I want to share to kick us off, very simple story. It's something we can all relate to, but is a friend of mine and I had been talking about these, different self-improvement techniques. And so mindfulness, right? So we had read about mindfulness, and we, watched an Oprah show about mindfulness, and we're like very impressed with it, but really couldn't quite, apply it to daily life. And we're listening to the terminology and like being in the moment and being present with people and recognizing where you are and who you are. So tried that, and it, felt like it didn't work. Felt like it didn't work for both of us. And so we tried meditation, and we said, okay, let's try meditating. We listened to, there's an app called Simple Habit. It has a bunch of free meditations on it. So we tried that, listening to those, kind of talks you through being in the moment and recognizing how you're breathing and things like that. Felt like that didn't work. Felt like, okay, well, this isn't really taking. And then one last thing I would share is, there's a graduation speech that was given several years ago, and it is called "This Is Water." If you want to go to YouTube sometime and find the video of "This Is Water," it has like a goldfish on the front of it, so you'll know you're looking at the right one. It's a fantastically interesting speech, but it is really about, again, being present in the world, recognizing how lucky you are, and recognizing that you're interacting with other people. So we saw that, we both watched that, and that video actually means a lot to me, but it didn't really work for her. She was like, I don't really get it. But anyway, so mindfulness and meditation and this is water, recognizing the moment. And it felt like these things weren't taking. And then she called me up one day and she said, you know what, this morning I was driving to work in heavy LA traffic where we live. And I'm driving along and some guy like came up in my blind spot and cut me off. And normally, and this is something, we all deal with, right? Normally most days I'd have hit the gas and pulled over and just cut him back off and made sure that, I took charge in LA traffic. You don't want to be backing down. But I didn't. I something in either the mindfulness or the meditation or this is water, I just paused for a moment. I looked at the situation. I thought, he's just trying to get where he's trying to get. I'm just trying to get where I'm trying to get. I'll take a moment, duck in behind. And she came around the corner. There's a kind of a curve in the bend right as she was doing it. And she curved around. And there's a cop there. And there's another accident there, right? And so she probably would have, without this like moment of pause, gotten at least the ticket, if not been in an accident. And so she kind of left that for the day, saying, like, you know what, these things, these moments that we take, they're meaningful, they're important, to pause for a moment. So in a sort of simple, this is water, this is traffic kind of way, that's a bit of what emotional intelligence is about. So what is it? Like in very simple terms, it's being aware of how you are feeling and acting, and then listening to others with empathy, listening actively, and then engaging with the world around you, engaging with those people directly and in a way that's meaningful to them. So we're going to go through a process and break this down into 4 components so that they're a bit more actionable. But that's really what it is. What am I up to this moment? what am I trying to accomplish personally? And then where am I with other people? Am I listening to them? Am I helping them accomplish their goals? And I would say, and I know this and I've read through it, emotional intelligence for most people, because most of us work with other people all day long, can be more important than your IQ or your, quote, hard skills in terms of your career and your career success. Your ability to work on teams, your ability to work with others day in, day out is really what makes a difference. That's what helps you get things done and be successful. So if we go to the next page. So why does it matter? Two things I would point to, and there are plenty others, but one is just to think about it from a career path perspective. There's a kind of definitions for, as people go through their career path, that show when you start out early in your career path, your job is maybe 80% about skills. It's about skills and knowledge and intelligence. It is about your IQ and the things that you've learned. But as you move on and get promoted and go to higher roles and larger roles, it becomes much more about people and your ability to work with people and convince people that your vision, your dream, or what you're trying to accomplish for your team or your department is the right thing, and to help them get there. And so emotional intelligence becomes critically important for your career. It is, in fact, people with low emotional intelligence, are the ones that quote derail or tend to hit, ceilings and barriers as they go through an otherwise successful career. And ones with high emotional intelligence are able to work with and gain the skills of others. You end up able to hire and to work with people who are smarter and more skilled than you well throughout your career. So that's one reason it's important for your career success, your professional success. The other reason is simply enjoyment. Having high emotional intelligence means you will get better and more positive responses from other people in the world, day in, day out, moment in, moment out. And it also means that you'll enjoy it more yourself. You'll be happy and be able to enjoy the moment rather than worrying about it or having just anxiety or fear about the next moment ahead. So that's a lot of what emotional intelligence can help with. In terms of training, there's this great question, which is, why don't more universities offer emotional intelligence? Why isn't it a class? Why isn't it an entire curriculum? It does come up within, certain places. Some universities, Ivy League schools, Cornell, Yale, many other universities are starting to bring in programs for it. Military academies for a long, long time have had leadership and emotional intelligence classes because they absolutely need it to succeed. But it's emerging, and there's more of it that's coming. Phi Sigma Pi is to some degree an emotional intelligence project, right? If you think about it, really, what Phi Sigma Pi fills as a role within the university experience. If you're at classes, either learning, things that will refine your problem-solving skills or your hard skills specific to your career, Phi Sigma Pi gives you the leadership experience. It gives you the social experience, and so that's sort of the special thing that we do. That's in one way part of a large part of our purpose, the philia within our existence. And then the last is corporate training. So because it's not been offered as much at universities as it should be, it becomes other than on the job, here's how to do your job training. This kind of training, emotional intelligence and leadership and personal motivation, it has all sorts of different names, becomes the #1 training that folks are invited to go to. And typically within companies, being invited to go to a leadership training or a motivational training, which is largely emotional intelligence described a different way, that's a sign that they'd like you to succeed. That's a sign that you're on the upward path at a company. So it's a great thing. Great. I'll turn it over for a poll.
Yeah, okay. Before I do my first poll, though, I do want to mention, if you are not aware, which I'm hoping most of you are, Leadership in Action does have 4 developing emotional intelligence modules, and I will be sewing them in during the webinar. So keep on the listen for my voice to pop in and tell you when Josh is talking about one of those 4 components, which modules go with those. So we do offer that if you're looking to fill the gap even more within Phi Sigma Pi. So our first poll I have here is, have you taken a class or seminar about emotional intelligence before? Yes or no? And if you're unable to see the poll, you can type it into the chat, your answer into the chat box. Almost everyone's voted. I'll give it about 5 more seconds here to everyone get their last few votes in. Okay, so we're going to end the poll here, and I'm going to share the results that that 37% yes have, and 63% have not, and we have about 4 more answers, another yes coming in the chat box, and 4 more no's. So I have 1 more poll to do before we move on. And this is just to kind of get you in the mindset before Josh continues on with our topic. How would you rate your understanding of emotional intelligence? A 1, meaning not at all. A 2, I've heard of it. 3, I know what it's about, but I want to learn more. Yes. 4, yes, I know all about it. And 5, I could teach a class on it. And again, if you can't see the poll question on your screen, please use the chat box to put in your question, your answer. All right, I'll give everyone a few more seconds here to get their answers in before I end the poll. Okay. Looks like we have some great results with our middle ground number 3. I know what it is, but I want to learn more, winning with 73%, which is great because that's what you're here to do today, is to learn more. We have 1 person, 3% saying not at all, 11% I've heard of it, and then pretty much it reflects in the same way. 11% said yes, I know all about it, and 1 person, 3% saying I could teach a class. So great. Thanks everybody for taking those polls, and I will turn it back over to Josh.
Great. Awesome. Thanks. So yeah, it's a topic that, you know, we're all a little close to, but it's good to have some more detail and some structure to it. So that's what we're going to do here. We're going to take 4 components to emotional intelligence, break them down, and kind of give some actions that can be taken to help strengthen those skills. And you can refer to this after, and I tried to pick a couple places where you can go look up more information. So to start this, I will just say about, you know, these components. The components, as I even mentioned before, are really about understanding and being aware of yourself, and then understanding and being aware of others. And the place that I actually learned the most about that, and I saw Kadira join this morning, so I can't help but mention and reference her, is the place where I learned the most about understanding myself in the moment and understanding others in the moment is in the theater. So I have a limited amount of theater experience, but I will tell you, if you have a chance or you do some of it, even for a fun thing or a week or some opportunity, you can learn quite a bit about yourself and how to work with others by doing some improv or doing something in the theater. All the way, thank you. All the way from, you know, the warm-up exercises where you're, you know, trying to be in the moment, interact with others. Things that I remember, like passing around an invisible ball and just looking each other in the eyes, help a great deal. Improv is a matter of building upon each other. And then I'll share this example. I was in one play. It was one of another brother's, Alpha Road Brothers' master's thesis. And I was in this play with them, and they had this great way of starting the rehearsal. So there were only 5 of us involved. And you come into the rehearsal every day, like really busy, a lot on your mind. You had a test the next day, and you had something was running late, and the car broke down, and all these other things. So we take a moment to share with each other just a quick mention of, hey, here's what's on my mind. Here's what's bothering me. So that's a great thing to do as a team, is to take a moment just to say, you know, I have to share this other thing that's unrelated just to get it out there, and then you can help carry this weight with me. But then the other thing we would do, and it sounds a little silly or trite, is we would sit together with each other and look around the group, look at the group of each other, and say this one specific phrase. We would say, I am here in this room with you. That was the phrase. That's it. I am here in this room with you. And in a way, that is entirely what these 4 components of emotional intelligence are all about. It's literally about knowing who you are and where you are in the moment, being there with the people that you want to be with and engaging with them directly, and being motivated to move forward for yourself and with them. And so that's what we're going to do. So if we go ahead to the 4 component slide. So the way this reads is upper left quadrant first. We'll do self-awareness. What's going on with me right now? Where am I in the moment? Below that, lower left quadrant, we'll talk about self-management and self-motivation. What do I want? What am I trying to accomplish? And how do I get there? The upper right quadrant, social awareness, which is about empathy and active listening and being engaged appropriately. And then the relationship management quadrant at the end there is about influencing and coaching and helping others get to where they want to go, which is hopefully somewhere you've agreed is a place you're going together. All right, so if we move ahead to number 1, self-awareness. Where am I right now? And I think the right now is really important. We have a picture of, like, a version of the thinker, the famous statue. This matter of self-awareness for the purpose of emotional intelligence isn't about who am I necessarily. It's not like a deep introspection. Who am I in the world and what's my purpose? It's more a matter of, like, where am I at this moment? What's going on with me this second? And so in particular, when you have a heated moment or something that is, kind of flares your energy, you feel like you might be upset, you have some things to say. First, step 1, pause, right? Pause and breathe, and just take a moment to look at yourself and look at the moment and reflect on where you are. The second step to it is recognizing your physical signs. So this is where mindfulness and meditation, this is largely what a lot of the starting point for mindfulness and meditation is all about. It's not about trying to breathe better. It's just about recognizing that you are breathing. It's not about trying to calm down. It's just about recognizing that you're upset. And it's about recognizing when you have anxiety or you have a physical tightness in your muscles. Sometimes that's what's driving your next step, and you don't want it to. You want control of that. So you want to take a moment to recognize it and see it and know where you are. And I have this sort of kind of like step path that I take when I need a moment like this, or I'm tired, or I feel stressed out, or I feel anxious about something, is I ask myself, can I sleep right now? Is that reasonable in the situation I'm in? If it is, if I'm tired and I can sleep, I should sleep. I should take a nap. If I can't sleep, can I walk? Can I go for a walk and get either outdoors or just away from a situation? And if I can do that, I'll go for a quick walk. Just go relax for a moment. If I can't walk, can I drink water? If I can drink water, I'll go do that. A lot of times I'm stressed or anxious. I'm actually also dehydrated. So it's a very physical thing. If I can't drink water, if I'm in the moment, if I'm in a meeting or if I'm in a class and I can't do any of those three other things, I can breathe. I can always breathe. And so that moment of pause, and I go through those steps, you know, can I get to what I want? Can I sleep? And if I can't sleep, can I walk? And if I can't walk, can I drink water? And if I can't drink water, at least I can breathe. I can always breathe. Helps a great deal. And helps me recognize where I am, helps me take control of my body and my physical signs back. So that's in the moment. Those two, the pause and recognizing the physical signs, are very helpful in the moment. On a longer basis, keeping a journal is extremely helpful. And I put on there Neil Pasricha. I'm probably mispronouncing his name. I actually saw him speak 2 weeks ago. He is fantastic. The Institute for Global Happiness, and he has several books out, but he also has a lot of YouTube videos and TED videos and things like that. Really great speaker, funny stories, and all about emotional intelligence in a way and finding happiness. But he recommends keeping a journal. You only have to spend a few minutes on the journal a day, but the journal will allow you to see where you are over time. And one of the things that it's helpful to see over time is that everything is okay, right? And that things are generally okay. And the reason that you would break that down is by looking at what you've written over time and saying, if something is wrong, there are three questions. The first question is it me? Or is it the situation, right? Is it me? The second question is it all the time? Or is it just right now? And then the third question is it everything? Or is it just this one thing, right? And so if you look at those three things, you can sometimes recognize, you know what? Yeah, there's something that I'd like to improve, but overall, things are pretty good and I'm okay. And a journal can really help you do that, help you identify those, along with other things journals can help you do. And then the last, and this is another suggestion that came from Neil Pasricha, is to walk 20 minutes a day, hopefully in the middle of the day if you can do it. Walk, look at things, not at your phone, right? That's the crux of all of us right now. But look at the world and read, and try to read 20 minutes a day. Neil recommends fiction, not nonfiction. It's great to learn about things all the time, as we are doing right now, but reading a good novel, good fiction book for 20 minutes a day can really free your mind and give you a lot of perspective on where you are. So those are tools for self-awareness, where you are in the moment, both at that very second as well as over time. All right, so look at the second one.
Before we go on, I'm going to pop
in. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, that's fine. I just wanted to.
I promised you I would pause and I'm forgetting.
No, it's okay. I just have a quick thing to say that the newest LA module goes great with what we're talking about with the self-awareness. It is, again, part of our Developing Emotional Intelligence series, and this one is about building self-confidence. So if you're interested in learning more about that topic, please request that module. I will put the module names in the chat box as well as the link. And I think a fun little thing we could do as Josh goes on to keep us talking with each other is, since we're looking for some great new novels now to read, everyone type in the chat box their favorite novel that they like to read or that they would like to suggest. And I will turn it back over so we can get on to number 2.
Awesome. Cool. Thank you. That's a great idea. Okay, so the second is self-management and motivation. So, okay, we have a moment where we took to understand where we are. Okay, now what are we trying to accomplish? What am I trying to do, and where would I like to be? And this can be about your career or your life, or even just a specific project or moment in time. And so if you know that goofy looking guy at the right there, that is Tony Robbins. When I was growing up and became aware of Tony Robbins, thought that was just such a cheesy idea, that this guy is out there being like a motivational speaker, yelling at people. but I've had a chance to read more of his writing and to listen to him on podcasts and things like that. He gives these like $3,000 weekend sessions that I have not done, but and I would say really, really impressive message. And a lot of his message is about figuring out what you really want. So what we're going to do as the next step is watch this quick video about the 5 whys, which is a really cool way to more deeply investigate a problem. And so one of the problems that we're thinking of how to apply to here is, what do I want? What am I trying to accomplish? The 5 whys is a problem solving method. So think about how it would apply to that problem. What do I want?
Okay, I'm going to click play on the video. I just want to let everyone know, I don't know exactly if you might need to turn down volume if your volume's super loud. I just want to give a heads up just in case. It's not that loud of a video, but I never want anyone's ears to be blown out if they're wearing headphones. Oops, sorry, hold on. There we go.
Many problems at work are just symptoms of deeper issues. Therefore, to solve a problem effectively so it doesn't reoccur, we need to drill down to identify the underlying cause. Seikichi Tawada's 5 whys technique is a simple way to do this. To use it, you start with the problem you're facing and then keep asking why until you've discovered the root cause. For instance, imagine the IT team in your organization has just rolled out new software for tracking everyone's expenses, but no one on your team is using it, even though they've all been trained. So you use the 5 whys technique to get to the root of the problem. You start by asking why people aren't using the new software. They say that they don't like it, and it's a pain to use. Then you ask why they don't like it. They tell you the system asks them for information they don't have. Then you ask them why they don't have the necessary information. They say that the system wants their scanned receipts, which is fine, but it also wants them to list exactly what they bought. Sometimes the receipts don't list individual items. When this happens, they can't use the software. In this case, it took just 3 why questions to get to the root of the problem. The system is asking for information that your people often don't have, so they're avoiding it because it's not useful. If you hadn't used the 5 whys technique, you might have just got angry with your team again for not using the software as they should have. But now you know what you need to do to resolve the situation. The 5 whys technique is a simple way to get to the root of a problem. You can find out more about it in the article that accompanies this video.
Okay, I'll turn it back over.
Yeah, thank you. So, a very simple but brilliant technique. It's amazing how often we don't do this, right? We ask ourselves the first question, or we even don't ask a question, we assume. And so in this case, what I'm suggesting, and what for sure I'm telling you, say you can, well, I'm sure he adds more value, but for Tony Robbins' view, a key piece of what he does is ask people to go several layers deep on thinking about, what do you really want? Why am I interested in this career, or why am I looking at this job? And then if you can find out what you want and where you want to be, you can use the 5 whys technique to figure out how to get there, right? So where do you need to be in the long run, and use the 5 whys technique to, you know, what are the barriers to getting you there, and you can break them down into figuring out what the first small steps are, and you can start from there. The know where you stand portion of this is about taking an honest look at where you are and where you want to get to, both from a career perspective or with any other improvement or path that you want to take. You need to ask yourself a couple questions. One of them is, do I have a gravity problem? Which is, a gravity problem means something that really would be extremely difficult to change, maybe not impossible. But an example of a gravity problem is, you know, maybe I would like to be a professional baseball player. Well, I don't have the you know, the height or the time left, you know, I'm a little old to begin a path as a professional baseball player. But if I dig a little bit deeper on that question, say like, well, why do I want to be a professional baseball player? Well, it's because, you know, I would enjoy the competition of it. Well, why would I do that? Well, it's because, you know, I like it when a team comes together and we do something important. And then I can find something that is related to that, that allows me to participate, you know, either by finding a team doing something else that I can participate in and compete in, or by finding a competitive baseball situation that's not professional baseball. So sometimes recognizing a gravity problem can help. I don't suggest that to say to stifle your dreams in any way. If you want to be a professional baseball player, I think go for it. The next steps about self-management and motivation are being optimistic. So finding something good, moving forward, getting through the difficult parts of any project or any moment or any part of your career, any day, is largely about your choice to be optimistic and your choice to move forward. And an easy way to do that is to find something good. So finding the value in the job that you do is important. Why you come in every day. I come in and work on advertising for a dental company because I know that we are able to get dental care to people that otherwise couldn't afford it, and that they will get that care and they will be healthier, they will be able to chew, they will eat healthier foods, and they will live longer and enjoy time with their families, right? So finding the good in what you do every day is critically important. And even if that good is something simple, like you're good to the other people you work with, you're good to, you know, you're honest and ethical and moving things forward in a way that is meaningful, all of that is good. If you can't find any good in a situation, you should probably leave it. You should probably find another situation. The last thing is the new 5-second rule. So I don't know if you've heard this suggestion, but I think it's just a simple and fantastic one, is that this is a matter of battling procrastination. Anytime that you have something difficult that you want to do, you want to ask someone out on a date, you want to get up and go running in the morning, you want to work on that difficult project, you use the 5-second rule. And the way it works is you think of and recognize the thing that you need to do. You start counting backwards from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then when you get to 1, you do it. You do whatever you intended and set out to do. You don't wait till later. You don't make a note about it. You don't set it off till the future. You count backwards from 5, and then you begin the difficult thing that you were procrastinating and hesitating about doing. So those are some suggestions around self-management and motivation. I'll turn it over for a poll.
Yes. Okay. So we have another poll question. So we're asking, which of these techniques that Josh just talked about will you try first? The 5 whys, finding something good, or the 5-second rule? We have lots of answers coming in. I'll give everyone like 5 more seconds to get their answers in. All right, okay. I am going to share our results. It looks like 43% said the 5 whys. That's one they're going to try first. But then tied is the finding something good and the 5-second rule. And we also have the 5-second rule and finding something good in the chat box. I think I'm going to try the 5-second rule because I'm a procrastinator and I think it sounds great. And it could definitely help improve my life.
Cool, thanks. That's great. I'm glad. I'm going to guess from the distribution of responses that it's all helpful. I'm so glad. You have to remind yourself to use these tools, myself included. So pick them up. Remember to use them. So what I'm going to do here, we're going to shift to these first 2 ones really talk about yourself, your self-awareness, and your self-motivation. Now we're going to talk about other people. So social awareness. the key here is empathy, right? And so just to talk for a second, empathy is different from sympathy. I love this cartoon. It's like I'm sad for another person. It is exactly like that. The key to empathy is the key to listening, and listening is the key to everything else, to understanding people. As I have here, walking in someone else's shoes, watching for their body language, and responding to feelings rather than to their content. The little example or analogy I want to give is I've read this a couple times, and I think it's a fantastic example of something to remember, not just for the specific purpose, but also because it has broader implications. But if you talk to someone who has had a family member pass away, and you talk to them and you say, I wanted to reach out to you, that's so difficult. Can you, I'm here for you. I want to listen, and I want to be here for you, right? And this very difficult conversation about someone, having great sadness in their life, is one where if you approach it from an empathetic point of view, but from a listening point of view, you will hear them and listen. And if you approach it from a sympathetic point of view or a speaking kind of point of view, you will try to give them advice. And you should try to listen. You should not necessarily try to give them advice. And the idea here is that if someone's had great sadness in their life, just stopping and listening and hearing them and pausing and letting it come from them keeps you from coming in and saying, oh, I'm so sorry that your family member died. I had this other situation where someone died and I was very sad too, and blah, 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 blah. And now it's all about you, right? It's not about that other person. So a real crux of this, and I find that just such a helpful example to remember, is when there are these important moments in life to listen to people and not bring in your example and not bring in your point of view, and just listen to them and let them tell you what's going on. That is a great value you can provide as a friend and as a person. Starting there is also a great way to use social awareness for the other thing, any other conversations that you're going to have with someone. Listen first, hear them out. And that's the last note here is listen to their feelings, look at their body language, try to hear from them how they are feeling rather than dissecting the facts of the situation, right? Like if they're telling you this problem happened and, the example I used before, said someone's cutting me off and they were probably in the wrong. And I'm, it's about listening to the person saying, I was really stressed this morning. I'm not saying those words, but that's actually what I really mean. So looking at the body language, listening to the feelings. So that's what social awareness is at a core. There is only one way to get better at this, which is to do it. These are pretty simple pieces of advice, and then you just apply them, take on those challenging, moments and listen and pause and try that first and see where that takes you.
And
Any other?
Yeah, so I will interrupt quickly. I did forget to mention my 2 modules for our last one. I was excited about the poll question. So I have for our self-management portion is the managing yourself, and then the other module is the road to resiliency. And again, these are all under our developing emotional intelligence category of our modules. And then the one for the social awareness that works well is the golden rule. So I will put these in the chat box along with the link, and then we can move on to our last point.
Great. Okay. So the last portion is called social management. This is about influencing, right? So if you're aware of yourself and you know where you're trying to go, you're self-aware and you're self-motivated, and you have listened and been empathetic to people, you may have opened the right to influence them, to influence and coach them. Certainly, the crux of this, right, as noted here, is this is about influence. It's not about manipulation, right? It's about coaching and helping lead someone who wants to go in the same direction that you want to, or that you've discussed and aligned on a goal. It's not about tricking them into it. And from an ethical point of view, this is actually something that I think about a lot. This is an important tenet of marketing and sales, is making sure that you are influencing folks to choose your products and services because they would be good for them and because they would fit with meeting their needs, and not tricking them into getting something that they don't want or they don't need. But so when you're dealing with people individually in a coaching situation, this is the key, right? Starting with, what is our shared goal? And if we don't have a shared goal, talking through that first so that you can get to alignment on where are you trying to go together and what are you trying to accomplish. And then with that shared goal, you are seeing this person as human, as real, as someone that can value the advice and is not just being told what to do or being tricked into doing something for you. And that then you have the right to move on to a coaching role and trying to help them. And that will be on the next page. Great. So, influencing is coaching, and coaching is leadership. And so what I actually found interesting, I really like the coaching styles graph that's on the right there. I actually use that when I coach teams, and it is my mental model for how to approach managing people on a team or coaching. What's kind of funny about it is, and I found this one so I could use this visual, but it's actually written backwards. And the reason I have coaching styles in quotations is because it's really not about the coach. It's really about the person being coached. So all of the language on this chart is written for the coach. It's for you as the person that's going to influence, but it's really a matter of recognizing where the other person is and what they need. This chart reads actually from the right to the left. So in the lower right, the instructor, the green box, and then goes up to enthusiast, collaborator, and mentor. And what it's saying is, when you start with someone who is in a space where they don't know the job, or they don't know what they're trying to accomplish, but they're in agreement with you, they're trying to get it done, you just teach them how. You're an instructor, right? That you respond to that moment. And then as they start to get a feel for what they need to accomplish, but you still need to be very engaged. You're an enthusiast, you're a cheerleader, you're there with them, giving advice, but mostly cheering them along a little bit more. Then you get to a place where you would still be engaged, but the person really has a great feel for the work to be done and is actually probably leading it as much or more than you are. At this point, you become a collaborator, you're working with them. And then in some cases, and it doesn't need to go to this space, but you would get to a place where you're working with someone, you might have a suggestion here or there, but for the most part, you're learning from them and just being available to them to help if you can. And that's the kind of mentor role. But it's really important to start with where the other person is, not where you are. This is not like, this is my coaching style and I pick it and I use it all the time. It's about where is the person that I'm going to give coaching or influence to, and what do they need from me. So the second point here is give and share credit. It is rule number 12. I remember this. This is in the Scholars Province. The ideal brother, the tenets of the ideal brother. Number 12 is to give and share credit. It is something that I picked up when I was an initiate back in a long time ago, 1993, and so it's an important it's an important rule. You need to give and share credit. If you're taking credit for people, you're not participating with them. You're not influencing them in the right way. The next step with it is conflict resolution. As I saw someone mention earlier, there's, that's an entire area in and of itself to learn about, but it's related to this is stepping into difficult situations and helping people diffuse them and make them productive. So taking a class on conflict resolution or learning about conflict resolution has tremendous value in terms of influencing. And then much like the other steps on empathy and on social awareness, this is all about, going to the gym, right? Going to the gym of coaching and influencing. You need to build your muscle. It's not something that you're able to do day one. It's one where you think about what you're trying to accomplish, you focus on it, you feel uncomfortable doing it, but you try to do it anyway. You try to learn from it and you improve. And that practice, doing it over and over, is the only way to get better at it. So that's all I had in total. What has been most helpful so far?
Well, thank you, Justin. So yes, we have this question. So what did you think has been the most helpful during this webinar today? Type it in the chat box. And also, if you have any additional questions, you can type those in there as well. Hopefully, maybe we can get, we can share a few points that people are sharing and maybe have a few questions. We have a few minutes left here, so we could take a few before we wrap up the webinar. Kelsey, yes, I can definitely share that with you. The 5-second rule, Brian is saying, yes, I agree. I love Megan's thing. She said she thinks this is it really helped her to think about how to use empathy to work with our chapters. I agree. And Elizabeth said the 5-second rule, the 5 whys, and the coaching concepts.
Great. Cool.
We can have one. Elizabeth asked if somebody can be too empathetic. I think I feel like there's always, there is parts of the spectrum where you can go too far.
Yeah, I mean, I think in the same way, you can't shoulder, you have to be self-aware too, right? So if you're not in a good place yourself, it's difficult to care for others. If you shoulder, some folks, there's one of the personality tests it's called DISC, identifies people who are highly empathetic in a work situation, and they will carry home the problems of other people. People will love to come to them and they're like, oh, this is bothering me and that's bothering me. And they're like, oh, I listen so well. And you feel so much better after you talk to that person. It is really important if you are someone who is sharing with someone empathetic, you're saying to them, hi, this is bothering me and that's bothering me, and thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for listening. You don't need to do anything about this. You don't need to carry this. You can let it go. And that will let them release it, right? And you should say that to yourself. If you're someone who's very empathetic and you take on other people's problems, recognize listening is still of value. You don't necessarily need to take action. You don't necessarily need to carry that weight.
I think that is a great point, because I know there have been times in my life where I feel down and I don't know why I'm feeling down. And it's because someone I would listen and I was empathetic, but it kind of affected my mood as well. So it's one of those things to be able just to kind of let it go and breathe and do those 4 steps that you said about, sleeping, the walk, drinking water, or just breathe if you need to. So I think that was great. And if we don't, it looks like we just have people are just saying about showing empathy that they love, the 5 whys. That's another big thing that everyone they learned today. So with that, I'm going to wrap up our webinar. So I just want to thank you again, Josh, for being here with us today and taking time out of your day for discussing emotional intelligence with us. I know I learned a lot, and it looks like everybody also did. So I think we're going to get a lot out of this. And we're going to let our panelists know, our our attendees and our panelists that you'll be able to watch this webinar again and share it with members of your chapter who weren't able to attend with us live. It'll be on our YouTube and Facebook page. So just go, it's youtube.com/5 Sigma Pi, and there is a Lunch and Learn playlist under our YouTube and our Facebook page. So feel free to look at that. That'll be up later today or at the latest tomorrow morning. Share it with your members and, like I said, your fellow alumni, coworkers who you would think would get a lot of information out of this topic as well. And if you could take the time to take a survey, I'm going to be typing that into the chat box here as I'm saying. It just lets us know what you thought about the webinar, and we love to hear feedback so we can know what to improve for future webinars. And there's even a question there for topics that you would like to be seen in a future webinar. And I want to thank you again for participating today and congratulate all of you for earning 8 leadership and action points. Remember, your goal is to reach 75 points to earn your leadership and action certification. And you can earn more points by participating in the monthly tweet meets and our Lunch and Learn webinars. Our next tweet meet is coming up in December, and that will be on Monday, December 3rd at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, and we're going to be talking about creating a professional resume. So if you're interested in joining that conversation or following along with that tweet meet and earning 1 leadership and action point, please feel free to register at phisigmapi.org/tweetmeet. And our next Lunch and Learn webinar will be in the new year. So be on the lookout for updates at phisigmapi.org/lunchandlearn. We are going to be doing another 3-part series, and it's going to be about professional development. So be on the lookout in 2019 for updates on that. And that does it for today's Leadership in Action Lunch and Learn webinar. Thank you again, and lead on.